Hello again. Let's keep going.
And as we continue to look at the evolution of culture over the course of history, we begin to see very interesting things begin to happen. The evolution of new cultures within the pre-existing ones. Take India, for example. If you look back, one of the oldest religions and faiths on the planet was called Hinduism.
It still is. You do know that Hinduism is still being practiced, right?
And in Hinduism, the understanding is basically describing everything in the universe through symbology.
I think you mean symbolism?
There are many different levels and fractals within this hierarchy of creation.
You still don't know what a fractal is? Oh, wait, maybe it makes sense in this context. Keep going.
Each part of a greater whole manifesting itself in different ways, which unite various different traditions in the minds of men.
Nope. Didn't think so.
Creating new matrices of devotion.
Matrices of... Jordan, seriously, stop using words you don't understand.
A Hindu worships one or many gods, often both.
You either mean that the one god is just one of many, in which case half of that statement is redundant, or you just contradicted yourself.
In this faith, it is believed that we are continually reincarnated, lifetime after lifetime. Our fate is determined by karma, the moral worth of our previous actions. The spiritual goal is to put an end to the rebirth of reincarnation and to be united with God.
Wow. That's pretty much correct.
This is achieved through the path of knowledge.
So don't watch Spirit Science. But yeah, you gave a pretty good description of Hinduism, all things considered. Let's keep going.
And then out of Hinduism, several thousand years later, new philosophies actually began to emerge. And we had Buddhism and Jainism that sort of just seemed to come out of nowhere.
No, they came from Hinduism. You just said so.
In this remarkable sort of turning point and event in history, that from that point began to rapidly move in the direction of giving people something even more experiential in their spiritual practices, where Hinduism was more of a philosophical and ancient science.
No, Hinduism is a religion. It's a dogmatic belief system which includes belief in the supernatural and which must be accepted on faith alone. It's not science.
And I want to talk more about this idea of ancient science, because it is actually a science, you know?
Okay, sure, you misuse words every now and then, but so far I've listened to you talk about animism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, and frankly I'm getting bored because there's so little for me to complain about, so I have to find things to nitpick about. But then you say something stupid like that. No, ancient superstition is not science.
It is actually a science, you know, if we can wrap our heads around the way in which they described it with respect and add it to what we know today with modern science, so many doors open up for us.
The problem with that kind of reasoning, which is so common among New Agers, is that it begins with the assumption that all ideas are of equal merit. I'm sorry, but they're not. Not everything is true from a certain point of view. If you're trying to describe observable reality and your description doesn't match observable reality, then I'm sorry, but your description is simply wrong. People used to think that infectious diseases were caused by demons, or that they were some form of divine punishment. They were kind of stupid. Today we know that they're caused by germs. We can demonstrate this. This isn't simply some new dogma. It was established by actually studying diseases using the scientific method and by following the evidence wherever it led, critically examining every step along the way. By your reasoning, if we truly want to understand disease, we should assume that the pre-scientific ideas were just as true and find ways to shoehorn them into our current understanding, because, well, they must have been onto something and we're missing out. The problem, Jordan, is that the reason scientists don't believe that diseases are caused by demons is that, and please try to follow the immense leap in logic here, they're not.
Take Taoism, for example. Now, Taoism, without a doubt, has touched me the most.
Well, for your sake, I'm Glad it wasn't Catholicism that touched you the most.
Zhuangzi, another ancient author, asks, "Am I a man who once dreamed of being a butterfly? Or am I a butterfly dreaming of being a man?"
Okay, time for a tangent. The reason why I think Eastern religions are so appealing to New Agers is that they ask questions that don't have meaningful answers. This gives credence to the idea that we can't know anything, and that brings us back to the idea that all ideas have equal merit. Interestingly, I don't think that was ever the point. I think the point was to show that just because you can ask a question, that doesn't necessarily mean that the question has a definitive answer. Does a tree that falls in the forest when no one's there to hear it make a sound? Well, it depends on what you mean by sound. What is the sound and what is the perception of sound? It depends on how you look at it. This doesn't mean that no question has a definitive answer.
Folk Taoism, additionally, refers to an eclectic range of Chinese lore, including the worship of local deities, mediumship, divination, astrology, the aesthetic art of Feng Shui, the energy yogas of Tai Chi and Qigong.
Tai Chi is a Chinese martial art that has, at least the style you're talking about here, been removed from the context of combat and is taught purely as a form of exercise, much like Qigong or yoga. But neither Tai Chi nor Qigong are forms of yoga. Tai Chi and Qigong are of Chinese origin, and yoga comes from India. They are completely different things, even though there are some similarities. And what the hell is an energy yoga?
Yin and yang refer to the mutuality of duality, as in male and female, dark and light, hot and cold.
Sorry, but just for the record, this analogy is crap. Darkness is the absence of light. Cold is the absence of heat. Male and female are not related in that way. One isn't simply the absence of the other.
Literally, they're describing the exact problem that modern science is struggling with in our two scientific models of the universe. They are general relativity and quantum mechanics. And between the two of these, we are seeing it's like you see the particles or you can see the waves. And both of them work, but they don't apply at the same time.
What? There's so much wrong with that, I don't know where to... Okay, play it again.
Literally.
No, not literally at all. You mean that the duality of yin and yang is metaphorically comparable with the way we need two different models to explain all of known physics.
They're describing the exact problem that modern science is struggling with.
No, they're not mentioning it in any way. You are.
In our two scientific models of the universe. They are general relativity and quantum mechanics.
And you know absolutely dick about either.
And between the two of these, we are seeing it's like you see the particles or you can see the waves. And both of them work, but they don't apply at the same time.
And what the hell does wave-particle duality have to do with general relativity?
If we can take our modern understanding of science and the universe, and our ancient understanding of the Tao, enlightenment, and karma, and all of these different concepts, we actually can create a peace on earth.
How so? How will religion lead to peace? When has religion ever led to peace? And how can science lead to peace? It doesn't address the subject. I mean, sure, it can indirectly help. Science improves life, and when life is better, you have fewer reasons to go to war with other people. But as long as we have religion, we have a reason to go to war. Religion.
This is not actually hard to do. It just requires the observation that everyone is talking about the same thing.
Demonstrably false in two ways. First, we're not all talking about the same thing, and second, even if we were, not one single conflict over territory or resources or political or religious differences would be resolved.
We should all open our minds to each other in order to really understand it. And I really get the atheist perspective because a lot of the world's religions have caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, obviously, I'm talking about the Abrahamic faiths, and I'm really sorry, I don't mean to put any particular person on the spot, but I just want to describe these concepts.
Sorry, but no, it's not just the Abrahamic religions that cause problems. Religion unites by dividing. Now, I know that sounds as stupid as something you might say, but let me explain.
Go back to when humans lived in tribal societies, each tribe having its own, usually very simplistic religion. As tribes kept coming into contact with each other, they would share their stories, and tribes with similar beliefs might actually unite as a result, because it seemed to them like they believed in the same invisible wizards.
They were kind of stupid.
Yes, I'm oversimplifying for purposes of brevity, just bear with me. Let's say that tribes A, B, and C unite for this reason, as do tribes D, E, and F. Now tribes A and D come into contact with each other and find that their beliefs are incompatible. Now instead of having them both go, yeah, okay, bye, we now have two larger religions, both teaching that we are the chosen people and those guys over there are not. Now tribe G joins ABC because they already hate E, and H joins DEF because they already hate G. The religions grow because they provide separate groups with common enemies. All of a sudden, B and F, who actually used to have somewhat compatible beliefs, find that they're on opposite side of a so-called holy war. And even if no war breaks out, they will still view the other as morally inferior, not because of their values or actions, but simply because they're not part of the one true faith.
Religion may have served a purpose back when tribes united into nations, but today all it does is keep people divided. It's outlived its usefulness, and it's time for us to leave it behind so we can move forward.
When you look at the Eastern traditions, everything from Buddhism and Hinduism and what have you, they all seem to sort of understand and respect each other's perspectives.
It may be true that these religions are better than their Western counterparts in many ways. They may very well be less immoral, divisive, warlike, hypocritical, maybe even less factually incorrect, though I doubt that. But that's like saying that a movie is better than The Room, or that a meal tastes better than shit, or that a person is smarter than you. To be continued.